Everyone, welcome to my Instagram live show, The Third Phase. I am so excited that you are here. Today's guest is a very exciting guest. Her name is Kerry Hannon. Kerry is a leading expert and strategist on personal finance, careers, and retirement. She's currently a Yahoo senior finance columnist and is an on-air expert. She is the author of more than a dozen books, including her latest, Retirement Bites, a Gen X guide to securing your financial future, and In Control at 50 Plus, how to succeed in this new world of work. Some of us may be considering changing our careers. So she is going to cover a lot of personal finance, retirement, and careers, and she's going to talk about as a featured columnist in like the New York Times, Forbes, Money, USA News and World Report, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today, among a few. So we are very excited to have her here. But first of all, I want to thank our sponsor, Life Ballet. Life Ballet is a manufacturer of a stunning grab bar, as you can see here, that doesn't look clinical and sterile. It is manufactured to be as stunning as it is safe. And it is ADA compliant, it's award winning, it's designed to be an intentional part of your design of your bathroom. And they come fully customizable here where you can inlay your tile, your stone, or whatever material you use for your shower or your bath. It's beautiful and perfect and so many options. So check out your possibilities at lifeballet.com and be sure and follow them over on Instagram at lifeballetnw. And for those of you that may not know me, I am Lori Carpenter, interior designer and founder of The Third Phase, using the number 3. And I am excited to have you here. So let me get our guest, because I know you are excited to hear from her, is Kerry Hannon. Kerry, are you able to join us? Kerry is going to have so much, very important information for us. So let me get her on. she will she will share with us some things that we need in third phase. So I see she has joined. Hello, Kerry. I think she may be coming on now. Kerry, are you with us? Oh, we're getting that crazy little deal that says she's unable to join, but hang on, we're going to get her on here. She is got some fabulous information. I am very excited about her latest book called Retirement Bites. And this is something for Gen Xers to really, really pay attention to. But we're going to go into things that for us in this third phase that we're dealing with, that strategies that we can still use. So let me get her on. Here she is. Hello,
Hi,
Carrie.
hi there. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I sure can. I am so glad you're here. I am very excited to have you on my third phase show and excited for all the valuable information you'll be sharing with us today.
Well,
Carrie, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into this line of work.
oh, Lori. Well, first, thank you so much for inviting me to be on the show. And yes, I'm absolutely been in this arena, writing and speaking about personal finance and retirement for quite some time, for about over 3 decades, I would say. And I absolutely got into it because listen, I don't know if you've been there, but many people I know have. I was in my late 20s. I was using one credit card to pay another credit card. I ran up all kinds of credit card debt. And I mean, it wasn't outrageous, but at the time
Right.
it was really frightening. And I thought to myself, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure this out. And so I really sat down. At the time I was living in New York City. So, things were pretty expensive there. And I
Very.
really worked on, figuring out how to do a budget, how to pay down that debt. And once I did that, it was so empowering that I will tell you from that day forward, the only debt I've ever carried is a mortgage. And it scared the heck out of me. And it got me started in this whole path about personal finance and writing about money in a way that relates to all of our lives.
That's great. That is, I wish that bug would have bit me. How has the landscape of retirement planning changed over the past decade, especially for those over 50?
Well, Lori, that's a super good question because it has changed quite a bit. There are a couple of big factors. And one is that we are living, and not everyone, but many people are living longer lives than in previous generations. And so
Absolutely.
if you were to have retired, say this made up, which I call it 65 retirement age, you could conceivably have 3 decades to support your living costs moving forward. And this is a huge amount of money that you need to have set aside because as things have evolved, there once was this thing called the pension. So when you worked for a company, there was a traditional pension that would pay you out a set amount of money as you move forward in sort of a new kind of paycheck, right? Your traditional.
Right.
But as Gen X, who I write about, and the younger boomers moved into the workplace, the 401k came on the scene. And the 401k is something none of us understood. It's do-it-yourself retirement savings. And in those early days, Lori, there was very little choice of what to invest in. There was hardly any financial education of anyone helping us figure out what to do. And in fact, you couldn't put that much money aside in that. So I think what happened is for Gen X in particular, they got late started for
Hmm.
retirement, and they didn't understand the financial implications. I myself, even at that point, and many people I know cashed out these when they changed jobs. So
Right.
again, step back. And then there were economic issues that came, the dot-com boom and bust. Lots of things happened where people's retirement savings took a real hit. So I think the biggest change, though, in answer to your question, is really the fact that these living longer lives and the idea that we now are self-funding our retirement accounts. And so it's up to us to buckle down and save early and really let
Mm,
that money grow for us so that it's there for us.
absolutely. What's a new investment vehicle that is available now that would be a smart one for people to look into?
Well, there's lots of the most important thing that's really come on the scene in terms of investing, because most of us go like, oh my goodness, like great, you say invest, but my employer has all these different mutual funds or whatever to invest in. I don't know which one I should invest in. And what's become the go-to investment is called a target date retirement fund. And most employers have these in their plans. And even if you're doing your own individual retirement account, your own IRA, if you work for yourself, you can do this from Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab. All of the financial services companies have target date retirement funds. What this means, this is a fund that you toss out a year that you think you're going to retire, say, 2035. And it'll be target 2035. And what that will do is it will create a mutual fund of index funds, usually index mutual funds that are equities and bond funds, both international and domestic. And as you near retirement, the portfolio becomes more conservative, which means you swing out of equities, which tend to be a little riskier, but provide more upside, and into the bonds and cash accounts, which are a little more stable and provide you that ballast as you near retirement. So the target date mutual fund is really one of the big choices. The other one I love, Lori, is called the health savings account. And if you have a high deductible plan, healthcare plan, your health insurance plan, you can have access to a health savings account. These accounts, there's not a huge amount of money you can set aside in these each year, but it's a wonderful vehicle that you put money in tax-free. The money grows tax-free, and we take the money out for qualified medical expenses. That is also tax-free. It's like the triple whammy, and you can invest this money and you don't have to use it every year like you do a flexible savings account. This is different. This is actually a retirement savings vehicle, if you want to look at it that way, but it rolls over year to year. And so when you're over 60 and you're looking at, most people don't realize that their healthcare costs are going to be one of the biggest chunks of their living expenses in retirement. These are out-of-pocket costs that Medicare does not cover. And I think it's really critical that people realize that they've got to buckle down and save hard for these health insurance, these medical costs they will have, and particularly at the end of life. But I do think health savings accounts, if you can do some research, if you have them available to you to use as an investment vehicle. A lot of people just use it to pay current medical expenses. But what I'm sort of advocating here is if you could hold on to that and invest it, that you have that set aside for you when you need it at later ages.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I knew you could get it out, but I didn't know that you could just keep letting it roll over.
Yeah, they're really terrific.
That is great. Leslie's asking, is this available for self-employed? I'm self-employed and I have it.
Yeah, it is definitely, for sure.
Okay. Okay. That's a great question, Leslie. Thank you. What is the biggest financial mistakes you see people make as they approach retirement? How can they avoid them?
Yeah, there's so much to go to, Lori, there.
There it is. That's like,
I know. In terms of mistakes, I think what happens is people, they guess at how much money they're going to need to step away from the workplace. And if you're not actually taking the time to run the numbers, to run a retirement calculator, to work with a financial advisor, you're really just throwing darts at the amount of money you have saved aside. So I find again and again that people aren't reaching out and asking for help. And study after study shows that people who at least run one of these retirement calculators, and most of the financial services companies have those on their website, AARP has a good one. Once they've been proactive that way, they're more successful with financial security in retirement, because it just gets you realizing what it is you need and really focusing on that. Because otherwise you kind of drift ahead and you think you need maybe $1 million set aside. Well, great, maybe you do, but you need to take into account what your savings are, where you're going to be living, what kind of life do you want to have in these next decades? Are you going to travel? All kinds of things, and things we don't know, like that crystal ball, is how long we're going to live. But the biggest thing someone can do is to really focus on making a plan, talking to a financial advisor, and even the simplest thing is running that calculator.
Running that calculator. Great idea.
I'll
Great
say
idea.
one other thing there, Lori, too, is anything you can do pre-retirement to pay down debt. If you have high interest credit card debt, if you have revolving credit on that, this is time to really take control of that debt and get serious about paying it down, because this is going to be debt is a dream killer. And in retirement, is just going to really suck away everything that you worked for in order to enjoy these years in your life. So there's ways to do a balance transfer to a credit card that has zero interest for a period of time, maybe 16 months. There's a tiny fee to do that, but at least gives you the breathing room to start paying that down. Or there are several methods of paying down credit card debt that you can tackle. But the most important thing is focus. Don't turn away from these debts and try to ignore it. This is something, as you near retirement, you should really, really do your best to pay down.
Yeah. Leslie's asking, is any credit card you recommend? Is there a certain credit card you?
I would just say look for there's a lot of these no interest
Interest
transfer cards. and you can search for that, and you'll see there are quite a few out there right now. You have to qualify for them, but it's not left to do so, and I really recommend them. It gives you that breathing room, because then you consolidate, you move it over, you get rid of that monthly high interest APR, and you have the opportunity to really focus on a repayment plan.
Absolutely. Okay, what strategy do you suggest for bridging the income gap if someone hasn't saved enough money? Uh, enough money over 50.
Well, I'm a huge fan of just planning to work a little bit longer. Like, to me, work is not a four-letter word. Work is something that, you should embrace and find joy in and love and purpose. But not everyone has that, right? I get that. But if you can try to just extend your working life a little bit longer, whether it's with your current employer or finding side gigs or contract work, anything you can do to continue earning income just a bit longer allows you to keep saving for retirement and not dipping into those retirement plans you currently have, so that they can continue to grow. It's also, as I sort of alluded to, really work can brings a lot of these mental and physical benefits that people don't realize: the importance of the community, the importance of feeling relevant and part of something. So I think there's really important, and in order to do that, Lori, you can't just blink and say, oh, I'm going to keep working. You have to take some action here. You need to keep your skills up to date. You need to know what's going on in your industry. Your network has to be solid. And I always say networking is like one letter away from not working. And so it's not that, you have to be going to events and hobnobbing and exchanging business cards and so forth. This is something as simple as going on LinkedIn and getting involved, sharing people's posts. If somebody puts something up you find interesting, commenting on posts, really lifting others up is a way to get noticed, and especially people who are in your field. And that way you have this active network and you link into new people frequently. And so you build your contacts there. So when you're ready to make a move, you have people you can say, hey, can you tell me a little bit about this kind of work? I'm interested in it. Do you know somebody I can talk to? And that opens the door. Employers hire people they know or people they know. That's how it's been for ages, and it really has.
It never goes away. Never goes away.
Yeah.
Great point. I love LinkedIn. I do really like LinkedIn. What role, let's see, what role does Social Security play in retirement planning for people over 50 today? And when do you recommend start claiming your benefits?
Yeah, this is a really personal decision about claiming. But first, I'm going to talk about the idea of Social Security. There's a lot of angst and worry today that Social Security is somehow going to disappear and go away because, the Congress hasn't gotten their acts together to make some necessary changes. Lori, this is going to happen. This is a hot button issue in Washington. Something's got to budge on this. Now, that said, if nothing changes in the next, not quite a decade, there could be a cut in the benefit, a slight reduction. But from my perspective, I think that it will be there for people over 50. They've paid into it. It's their money to a great extent. They deserve to get this money out, and they will. But that said, a lot of financial advisors, and I will say many people in retirement, that Social Security check is huge. It is like their primary source of income. So it is essential that it stay solid, and it's important to realize that it will be there. But in addition, a lot of financial advisors that I've talked to recently, for their younger clients, in the Gen Xers in their 50s, and so they actually are even 40s, they kind of run the numbers planning for retirement without it, just to know that someone's secure enough without it. And
That's a great idea.
so it just helps you ramp it up a bit. Now, when to take it? Oh my goodness. I just wrote a column about this for Yahoo Finance, and man, did I get a lot of comments, emails, everyone telling me about
I
what
did
they
see
did,
that.
what they should do, everything. It's a big deal. It's a personal decision. If you need the money to live on at 62, I say, or you have health issues, it's there for you. That's why it's there for you. A lot of the sort of finfluencers, as we call them, have been telling people, oh, take it at 62 and invest it in the stock market. I'm not a big fan of doing that. If you don't need the money to live on, they say, you'll get a better return. That's not my advice to people. But again, it's a personal decision. If you can wait till your full retirement age, which is around 67 for most people now, then you get access to that money, and you save. There's a third if you take it at 62, or if you wait. Now it bumps up each month. It's sort of a funny calculation, but if you wait to your full retirement age, there's a third of your benefit that gets cut if you take it early. So a third smaller check if you take it at 62 versus your full retirement age. And then, Lori, if you can wait till age 70, that amount bumps of your monthly check bumps up roughly 8% each year. You wait between your full retirement age and 70. If you think you're going to live a long life, if there's longevity in your family, it's often quite a good idea to wait as long as possible to start that benefit. Or if you're in a marriage, sometimes it's essential that that higher benefit check is there for if your spouse were to pass and they've waited till 70, you'll get the widow will get the biggest check moving forward. So, and that's a little complicated, but financial advisors can help figure that out. But again, I always tell people to wait as long as they can if they don't need the money to live on. But again, it's really, if a lot of people feel like it's my money, I want it, I'm scared it's going to go away.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Okay, let's talk now about your book. And let's reference to your career change in
Well,
your 50s.
yeah, well, I absolutely love this new book, Retirement Bites. It's just, Lori, it's been a pleasure. This book came out earlier this fall, and it is just hit a chord. It struck a chord with, and Gen X is roughly people 44, 45, and the first Gen Xer just turned 60 in 2025. So this is a generation that many people forget about. They go right from boomers to millennials. And here's this whole segment of Gen Xers who, they're scrappy generation. These were the kids who rode bikes without helmets and drank out of the hose, ate Pop-Tarts, just like latchkey kids. They're very independent. We grew up very independent, and we don't ask for help easily, which is why a lot don't go to financial advisors at this point.
Yep.
But Gen X, as I started earlier in our conversation, I noticed that there was study after study coming out saying that we're woefully behind in retirement savings. And I got millions of views on these columns and thousands of comments. And I said, oh my goodness, there is a book here. This generation needs somebody to give them a playbook on how to prepare for retirement. And so I got started, and I got this book pulled together, which is with a co-writer of mine, Kerry Hannon, who's a young Gen Xer. And we kind of riff off the idea of that movie Reality Bites, which is when Gen X was having this angst about becoming adults. This is the angst about retirement. And with 60, the oldest one turning 60 now, I mean, it is really, retirement is in the windshield now. It is time to wake up and pay attention. But
Absolutely.
Again, I'm hopeful for this group, because this is a generation that, raged against the machine. It was just like a really cool group of people. And I think we can get it done, but it's a matter of, and in our book, we just kind of walk everyone through the different stages of your mindset about retirement, about working longer, about how to start an encore career or second act, what the things you need to do in order to expand your working life in a way that brings meaning to your life, but also really adds to your financial security.
That's fabulous. Everyone, I've got to get the book. I looked at it and I was like, I won't get it in time. So anyway, I've got to get the book. So for someone considering a career change, what are the first steps that you would recommend to take to assess their skills and opportunities?
Yeah, this is really important. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to shift careers or something that I've always wanted to do, and this is my time to do it. Maybe they've been laid off. Maybe they took early retirement, whatever it might be. They have this feeling that they're ready to move to something new. But it's critical that you do a couple of things. I wrote a book a while back called What's Next? Follow Your Passion and Find Your Dream Jobs. And I spent 3 years traveling around the country, meeting people who had made these kind of transitions to new careers. And Lori, it's not like I wanted to do what they did, but I wanted to be like them. I was so inspired by them. but there was a common thread there, very different industries, but the common thread was this. Number one, they got lean and mean. They did that. They got financially fit. They looked at what their budgets were, what they spent on, what they had coming in. They paid down debt. Maybe they relocated or downsized their home. They found ways, because when you start in a new career, in general, you're going to start at a lower salary than you had previously. Or if you're starting your own business, you're going to be putting a lot of that earnings that you're making back into your business. So you need to give yourself that cushion in order to succeed. And it often takes about 3 years to make this kind of full transition. They also, they moonlit, they did some apprenticing, they volunteered, they tried it out. You think, oh, this is so, I really want to do it. But when they actually were doing it, they're like, oh my goodness, not for me, not for me.
Yeah.
They did that. They volunteered. They did their research of where the opportunities were. They reached out to their network, like we talked about, to see who could help them get started, how to give them ideas of where the needs were in this industry. So, and the final thing, which we talked about earlier, is they added to their skill set. They looked to say, okay, do I need a certification to do this? Do I need a certain kind of, and I'm not saying master's degree or some sort of expensive educational thing, but you probably need to take the time to add that certificate or that skill set in order to make the transition.
Stay on top of it. Stay on top of it.
Yeah.
If someone has their resume ready and they're looking to make a major career change in their 50s, how would they leverage technology and online platforms to enhance their job search?
Yeah, there's so much out there in virtual job search and in help. I'm not adverse to asking AI to help you with your credit, with your resume. I mean, writing your resume is just drudgery for so many people. And when you're applying for jobs, you really need to customize it for each job that you're applying for, using the kinds of words that are in the job posting. There are all sorts of ways to sort of suss it out, because your resume is going to go into the ether. It's going to go kind of hit this sort of AI wall, that it's going to be separated out by various criteria without a human even looking at it. So you might very well ask, ChatGPT or Claude or one of these AI services to take a crack at doing this resume for you. And then of course you have to go back and fine tune it and make sure it's correct. And I also say, highlight that resume, load it up front with your skills at the top. You don't need to put dates on things necessarily. And you want to highlight the jobs that are relevant to what you're applying for. Now, again, online, where the virtual part comes in, you're going to hear about a lot of job openings. But because especially, virtual job boards, I still think it's super hard to actually get a job through one of these job boards. But they do give you an idea of who is hiring. And if you can go to that company's website, you often can apply directly through that website itself. And that might be an easier way to get in the door. Some of these job postings are just teases and are often just recruiters looking to sort of put people together for the future. So there are different ways to look at it, but there are ways to harness technology to really make this a more exciting way to approach it all, and get comfortable with technology, even like what you and I are doing here.
Right.
With your virtual interviews, with being not right in front of a person across the desk or whatever. This is your time to shine, but you need to have your virtual interviewing skills polished up, and so you're ready to go.
Great point. That's great. Let's see. I have one more question here. Some of the best ways to make money that you would recommend to people if they have to work part-time because they're caregiving. This is our phase that a lot of times where I'm caregiving half the time for my mother and my grandchildren and still have a full-time job. So what do you recommend for people that want to work part-time?
Yeah, it is an important question today, with so many people involved with caregiving of aging relatives as well as children and grandchildren. You're so right, Lori. I think it is really, there's a lot coming out of the pandemic, the idea of contract jobs. I had a book called In Control at 50 Plus that I write all about this sort of this surge in contract positions. And this has not gone away. So there's a lot of opportunity, and especially virtual positions where you can, pick up work for a period of time for a project. But how you slice and dice it really comes down to what kind of time do you have available? What are your
Right.
skill set? What's your industry? And does your employer that you have right now offer some opportunities for you, whether it's phasing into a retirement or whether there's consulting or contract positions on projects that you could get involved in? That's an easy, slide over
Right.
full-time job right now. But a lot of it is going to be reaching out to people and asking what they know of, what's available. But there are lots of opportunities, but I think you can't just go scattershot looking for them. Try to have a plan of what are you marketing? What do you have to sell that can benefit a company? I mean, it's really up to you to show them how you, and it's never about you, of course. It's about how you can make their work easier and improve their bottom line for their company and add to their company's mission.
Great point. Great point. Can you share examples from your book of people who have successfully reinvented their careers after 50 and what made their journey successful?
Oh, there's so many fun ones, but I'll just highlight one of my absolute favorites that may have everyone going like, "Oh, seriously, Kerry." But there's this gentleman I interviewed who he was with the Navy and he was a captain in the Navy and he was a guy who was a career military, and I mean he could land aircraft carriers. He was just a pilot. He was amazing, but Don. Took a mandatory retirement, so it was early retirement from the Navy. And he could have gone to work for perhaps a defense department, a contractor for them, or even become a commercial pilot. But what Don did is Don ran away with the circus. Okay. Oh my gosh. I was like, Don, the circus. Are you kidding me? But he absolutely loved the circus from the time he was a little kid in Baltimore, Maryland, going with his dad. Everywhere he was deployed and stationed military, he'd find a circus coming to town. He got circus magazines. So when he took retirement, he took a position as the company manager for the Big Apple Circus, which was a nonprofit circus that moves up and down the East Coast. And his responsibility was to move this troop of individuals from one show to the next show and all the things that go with it. And I'm like, what does, the circus have to do with the military? Carrie, it really does. It really does. So, anyways, with a wink, of course. But what he meant was all those project management skills that he had, all those organizational skills he had that he developed in a career, his military career. He was able to transition to doing something he loved, but also relying on skills that he had spent a lifetime building and acquiring. So that he was. Great story. But another one was a woman who she was a lawyer and a lobbyist here in Washington. And when she stepped away from her primary job at the law firm, she actually decided to become a landscape designer because she was an amazing gardener. I mean, fabulous gardener. All her friends always commented. She's like, yeah, I think this is what I'll do. But Lori, when she got into the garden and it became her job, she was absolutely miserable because her garden was her respite. That's where she went to get away from the hubbub and the noise. And she realized that she missed the people. She missed the action. So
Yeah.
she quickly wrapped it up and she moved on. And what she does now is she became an executive career coach because one of the things she had loved about her career was mentoring younger people as they came along. And she said, this is something I think I would be good at. And so she did go back and got, took a program in executive coaching. She got a certificate in that, and she's really built up a wonderful group of clients that's always evolving, and she loves it because she feels like she's giving back, but she's also using the skill set she used in her previous career.
I wish more executives would do that. I think it would help our generation, on down, the millennials and below, because a lot of that they don't even know.
Yeah.
They do not even know. So, yeah, I think that's wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Carrie, that maybe we didn't cover? And
Oh, Lori, I think we skated through quite a few different topics here. Great questions. I just, encourage people that, they can do whatever it is, whether it's taking care of their financial lives, taking control of their work and careers. It's really your time. And what you need to do is what I call it, that inner MRI, to really look at what is it matters to you? What are your priorities? And what kind of life do you want to create moving forward from 50 plus on? This is your time to do that. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you don't sort of have a plan, you're not going to get there. And so really take those times to run that budget, to write down that gratitude list, to write down those, if I could work anywhere, I would work here, and then let it go, dream a little bit.
That's a good idea to just dream. Just dream. How do people reach you? What's the best way?
Well, thanks. My website is kerryhannon.com. So that's KERRYHANNON.com. And that's probably the best way. I'm also on LinkedIn if anyone wants to connect with me there. And at Yahoo Finance, you can find my column. I write a column for them on all of these topics a couple times a week.
Yes, I've enjoyed those. I have thoroughly enjoyed those. Thank you for all your hard work and sharing and for being on my third base program. I really appreciate, Kerry. I may have to call you back up for some other questions at some point. So
Well,
I hope you will be available.
I will. And thanks for your patience here. I've never done an Instagram podcast, so this is great.
Yes, yes. Well, we'll see. But you did fabulous. Which you have TV experience. So
I do.
thank you so much for sharing everything. And golly, this is a lot of information. I
Well,
may go balance my checkbook.
Erin, thank you very much.
Thank you. You have a great Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
Bye
See ya.
bye.